It started like any other peaceful morning. The sun rose gently over our neighborhood, casting long shadows across the rows of identical beige homes. I was on my porch, sipping black coffee from my old chipped mug, the one with #OneDad barely visible on the side. Max, my golden retriever, was rolling on the grass, tongue out, tail wagging like he hadn't a care in the world. Max wasn't just a pet. He was my shadow, my comfort through the hardest nights. After my wife died 3 years ago, Max was the one who kept me sane. He'd curl up beside me when the silence of the house became unbearable. Every bark, every nudge, every soulful look he gave me reminded me that I wasn't alone. That morning, I remember thinking how lucky I was to still have him. Then, they showed up. 2 people from the HOA, Janet and Dave, I think. Both wore smug expressions and khaki polo shirts with the HOA logo stitched neatly over the heart, like they actually believed they were doing God's work. Mr. Carter, Janet said, not even looking me in the eye. We've received multiple complaints about your dog. He's not compliant with the new pet policy implemented last quarter. What policy? I asked. Max has lived here longer than most of you people. Dave opened a manila folder and pulled out a stapled packet. Section 14B, only hypoallergenic dogs under 40 pounds are permitted. Goldens shed excessively and have been classified as allergens. I stared at him in disbelief. Are you seriously telling me you want me to get rid of Max because he sheds? Janet didn't flinch. You have 72 hours to rehome him. Failure to comply will result in daily fines. I laughed, mostly because I couldn't believe how surreal it was. No. I'm not doing that. You can fine me all you want. They left the notice in my mailbox and walked off without another word. That night, I didn't sleep. Max rested beside my bed, snoring softly while I stared at the ceiling, running through all the worst-case scenarios. I should have trusted my gut. 3 days later, I ran to the store for milk. I wasn't gone more than 20 minutes. When I came back, the side gate was broken. Max's leash was gone. His water bowl knocked over. Panic hit me like a freight train. I screamed his name until my voice cracked. Then I saw it. A note taped to my door, printed on HOA letterhead. Animal removed by order of HOA Pet Compliance. I froze. My hands trembled. My legs gave out and I collapsed on the porch. My world tilted. Max was gone, taken. Not by strangers, not by accident, but by my own neighbors, under some twisted justification of rules. They didn't just take my dog. They broke me. But I wasn't going to stay broken. Because Max deserves justice. And I'm going to burn this entire HOA to the ground to get him back. The first 24 hours after Max was taken were a blur. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I sat at the dining table, staring at his empty dog bed, my fingers clutching his favorite tennis ball like it was the last thing holding me together. I called the HOA office. No one answered. I emailed, left voicemails, even walked over to the office in person. It was locked, lights off, blinds drawn. A laminated sign on the door read "Office hours by appointment only." It was like they vanished the moment they stole him. That night, I drove around for hours, searching every animal shelter in a 50-mile radius. No one had seen Max. No one had heard anything about HOA involvement. The volunteers gave me sympathetic looks, some offered to take my number. But I could see it in their eyes, they didn't expect me to find him. And honestly, neither did I. By day 3, something in me snapped. I stopped crying. The grief hardened into something sharper, something I hadn't felt in a long time. Anger. The kind that grows deep in your bones when someone takes something from you they had no right to touch. That evening, I opened the drawer under my bed. Inside was a wooden box I hadn't touched in years, my wife's old camera, her journals, and the camcorder I used when Max was just a pup. I powered it up, found the old footage. Him jumping through piles of leaves. His goofy smile. His bark, still so clear through the speakers. I broke down again. But this time, I recorded everything. A new video, my story. I sat in front of the camera and told the truth. About Max. About what the HOA did. About the silence. About how it felt to have your family stolen and be told it was policy. I uploaded it to every platform I could think of. I wasn't chasing views. I just wanted anyone, to care. The next morning, I woke up to hundreds of messages. People from other neighborhoods. Other victims. People who had their gardens torn up, their fences knocked down, their pets taken. All in the name of compliance. I wasn't alone. And in the flood of comments, one stood out. Check the warehouse on Hillstone. That's where they took my dog. My heart nearly stopped. I knew that place. A rundown building the HOA bought last year said it was for storage and file retention. That night, I parked 2 blocks away. Dressed in black. Gloves on. Bolt cutters in my backpack. I didn't have a plan. But I had a name. Max. And I was coming to get him back. The warehouse sat at the edge of the neighborhood like something the town forgot. Rust streaked down its sides. The windows were covered with brown paper, and a crooked HOA property, no trespassing sign hung from a rusted chain-link fence. It didn't feel like a place for storage. I parked far enough to avoid cameras, crept along the tree line, and scaled the back fence using an old milk crate. My heart pounded so loud I could barely hear the crickets. Every twig snap sounded like a gunshot. I cut the lock on the back door. It opened with a low groan. Inside was darkness. The kind that feels thick, like it's watching you. I switched on my flashlight. Rows of cages. Cages. Each one numbered, each one containing bowls, chewed toys, torn blankets, and some stains I didn't want to look at too closely. Some cages were empty. Some weren't. My stomach turned. Tiny whimpers echoed through the space. I followed the sound and saw them, dogs. At least 15. All different breeds. Large ones, old ones, nervous ones. All taken. All stolen. One barked softly when he saw me. A golden blur behind the wire. Max? I whispered. He whimpered. His tail thumped weakly. He tried to stand but stumbled. I dropped to my knees, tears blurring my vision. Buddy. I'm here. He crawled forward, licking my fingers through the bars. I didn't care that I was crying. I'd never felt relief like that in my life. But I didn't come for just him. I cut open every cage. One by one. Some dogs ran out. Some were too weak. I carried the smallest in my arms, tied makeshift leashes from cords and rope I found hanging on nails. It took me almost an hour. And then I found the office. Files. Stacks of them. HOA seizure records. Names. Addresses. Photos of pets. Dates. It was systematic. Worse, in one folder, I found signed agreements with a private company, Crestline Bioresearch. They weren't rehoming pets. They were selling them. For testing. I snapped photos of everything. Stuffed files into my bag. And as I turned to leave, headlights. Someone was here. I bolted. Max and the others trailing behind me. Through the fence. Into the woods. We didn't stop running until we reached my truck. Max jumped in, collapsed on the seat, and licked my arm once, as if to say, "We made it." But this wasn't over. This was war. The morning after the rescue, my living room looked like a war zone. Blankets on every surface. Dogs sleeping in piles, curled together like survivors of some unspoken trauma. Max lay by the fireplace, head resting on my foot, eyes finally calm. For the first time in days, I exhaled without shaking. But there was no time to rest. I uploaded everything. The photos from the warehouse. The files I stole. The contracts with Crestline Bioresearch. The footage of Max's cage. His ribs showing. His eyes hollow. I didn't hold back. I posted it all with one message. The HOA took my dog. And yours. Here's where they went. Here's the truth they never wanted you to see. At first, it was quiet. Then it exploded. Hundreds of shares. Thousands of comments. People from my town, then from other states, all with stories. Missing pets. Mysterious compliance removals. HOA board members with connections to private labs and shady contracts. A local reporter reached out. Then a regional one. Within 24 hours, my street was lined with cameras. I didn't shy away. I stood on my porch, Max beside me, and I told the story, not just mine, but every pet owner who ever got bullied, fined, or lied to by their HOA. I watched the board squirm. Janet tried to deny everything. Said the footage was edited. That I was unstable. That the dogs were surrendered voluntarily. She didn't expect what came next. 3 other neighbors stepped forward. Then 5. Then dozens. One had a recording of an HOA meeting where Janet joked about getting rid of the barkers. Another had a copy of a bill sent to Crestline. Per head, it said. Police finally got involved. But it wasn't fast enough. That night, someone threw a brick through my window. A note was tied to it. Back off. Or Max won't be the only thing that disappears. I should have been scared. But I was past fear. I took the brick, stood outside in the rain, and made a new video. You threatened the wrong man. You came for my family. You thought I'd stay quiet. But now, the whole country's watching. This isn't just about Max anymore. This is about justice. The next morning, the mayor called for a full investigation. By noon, the Crestline CEO resigned. And by sunset, Janet was gone. Disappeared. No one had seen her since. But I wasn't done. Because I had one last file. A location. A second facility. Where some of the dogs, the ones that didn't make it to the warehouse, were taken. And I was going there. Not for revenge. For closure. The second facility wasn't on any official map. Tucked between 2 ridges outside the county line, it was surrounded by a rusted fence and shielded by trees so dense it barely showed up on satellite. I didn't tell anyone I was going. Just Max. He sat in the passenger seat, alert now, stronger. The scars around his neck had faded, but he still flinched at loud noises. I placed my hand on his back as we drove. Neither of us needed to speak. We just knew. The gate was already ajar. No guards. No signs. Just a gravel path leading to a long, low building wrapped in corrugated metal. I parked under the trees and walked the rest of the way with Max trotting beside me. Inside, it was cold. Too clean. Too quiet. Steel kennels lined the walls. Cameras in every corner. Desks filled with paperwork, tubes, gloves, needles. It smelled like bleach and fear. Most cages were empty. Most. A few weren't. And those that weren't, held what I had feared the most. Not barking. Not whining. Just silence. I found a freezer in the back. Inside were tags. Bags. Photos. I couldn't look at all of them. But I had to know. I took what evidence I could. I filmed everything, though my hands were shaking too hard to keep the footage still. When I stepped outside, the sun was rising, thin, gray, as if even the sky was ashamed. Max leaned against my leg. I knelt beside him and whispered, "We did it." And for the first time, he didn't flinch when I hugged him. The fallout came fast. National headlines. Congressional hearings. Petitions that racked up millions of signatures. The HOA board was dismantled. Crestline was hit with lawsuits so big, they folded in under 6 months. Some executives fled the country. Others were arrested. Janet was found 2 weeks later in a motel 3 states away. She was trying to disappear. Just like the animals she'd erased from people's lives. But the world didn't forget. We made sure of it. I kept telling my story. Not because I liked reliving it, but because people needed to hear it. To know what's possible when power goes unchecked. When greed wears a polo shirt and calls itself neighborhood rules. Max is older now. Slower. But happy. He still sleeps by the fire. Still wags his tail when I open a cheese wrapper. Every year on the day I found him, we take a walk past the old warehouse. It's just an empty lot now. But I still leave a tennis ball there. For the ones who never made it out.